If you're anything like me, you probably think that beating yourself up and criticizing yourself to death is the way to get
The
better.
only way to success.
Well, it turns out hating yourself is not going to make you feel any better. And here's exactly what will in today's episode. This is the Existential Stoic Podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. What's going on, Danny?
What's up, Randy?
Yeah, so today is a great topic suggestion by Mike W. We are open to suggestions for episodes. If you have episode ideas, you can email us. You can post a link down in the comments or post a comment down in the comments. I guess that's what it would be called.
Something like that.
But yeah, today
Whatever.
we have an interesting topic because I'll be honest, I do this all the freaking time. I think that the only
Yep.
way to get better at anything is just to beat the crap out of myself internally.
I always wondered where this came from because, it's funny. I remember listening to it must have been a podcast or something, but the guy was talking about like how in early life, like his parents were Christian, and he blamed that for like his self-hate because like
Hmm.
of the whole hell thing and all of that stuff, and he's like, internalizing all that. It was an interesting episode. He found out that that wasn't exactly the reason, but like at the end, but it was an interesting like starting point, I thought, because like I think a lot
Yeah,
of
I
us.
remember. I think you sent that one to me.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really good. The whole episode was really good. It might
Hmm.
This American Life or something, but
I think it was. Yeah.
yeah, the but what's interesting is I think like a lot of it does though, like going back to our childhood, probably there's roots there in why we do this. And then also like everything that's thrown at us all the time, telling us we're not good enough, right? Like if you want to be better, you got to buy this. Like you're not cool unless you have this watch or these shoes or this thing or this type of house, right? So we're constantly evaluating ourselves based on all these values given to us from outside, people trying to sell us stuff, and then all the expectations. I think because I always thought that was myself. The worst part was the expectations I placed on myself, and
Hmm.
then you start, you know, attacking yourself whenever you feel like you haven't met those expectations, as if that's going to make things go better and smoother and
Seriously.
faster. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember there was like some quote from a basketball player or something who was like a successful basketball player. And he was like, I'm harder on myself than I am on anyone else, and that's why I'm good. And I heard that when I was young, and I was like, that must be the key to success. Like, clearly, just beating yourself up.
Well, we're
That's got to
told
be.
that, and
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
mean, like, and it's funny because you look at like, and it is hard because you look at like our our examples of success probably aren't healthy people, most of them. Like you look at most Olympians, like they nonstop just practice that sport their whole youth. They don't do anything like a normal
Well,
childhood.
dude, like Simone Biles, she won plenty of gold medals, but she never even had a boyfriend because her
Yeah,
parents wouldn't let her. Like, what kind of life is that?
that's what I mean. Yeah, right. So you do like it's clear like if you do one thing and only one thing, all you will do well at it probably. Because you're probably gonna fix on your talent at it and you'll just grow because that's all you're doing. But you're also missing out on a lot of life. And I think we all have this like idea in our head that we can somehow have both, right? That we can do the one thing, be awesome at it, excel super well, and still have our whole life. And then we beat ourselves up when that's totally impractical possible to have the two, right?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing because we think that when we that what we have right now is not enough, that we're lacking something. And so we want to get this thing so that
Because
we
we
can love
are.
ourselves. Because clearly lacking, we're not worthy of love. But once we have this thing that we're lacking in the future, then we're worthy of love and we can love ourselves. But until that point, we'll just hate ourselves.
Yeah.
It's like practice hate, and then when you get that thing in the future, if you get it, then you can love yourself. But it's
Yeah.
like by the time you get that, you're already in the habit of hating yourself. And
Yeah.
so you might love yourself for a day, but then you're just going to hate yourself about something else.
Yeah. And we all do it too. It's funny because it starts off like I remember in college, like, that was the way that I motivated myself to get my work done. Right? It was like because I
Mhm.
would procrastinate because I had like perfectionism and stuff. I procrastinate, put things off, and then I get to the end and like I felt like I had to beat myself up to get that stress level high enough to actually do the work. And then I'd do
Yeah.
it and it'd be fine. But it's like such an unhealthy thing to do if you think about it, because you never are doing time management. You're just waiting till a minute and then
Yeah.
making yourself absolutely miserable the whole time that you're doing it.
Yeah, that was so helpful when I started doing the masters when you gave me the advice because I was like stuck in the same perfectionism trap in the beginning. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this good enough. And you're like, just start it, just do it. And I did it, and it was like done in a couple hours. but I've been putting it off for like almost a week just because I was afraid of what would happen.
Yeah, it took me getting my master's to realize that too, like to figure out how to do it. And I was like, once you're there, you're already gonna pass anyway, basically. Like you
Hmm.
got accepted,
Yep,
you know?
just do it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it is.
So, yeah, so I mean, I'm stuck in this trap all the time of just beating myself up. And I do this, and it's crazy too when you can like step back and analyze it because for the most part, like 80% of stuff is going well.
Yeah,
20% no. But 80 most of the stuff, I mean, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I'll speak for myself. Like living a pretty decent life, pretty good health, you know,
yeah,
oh, doing okay financially. Like all these things are like pretty good. Yeah, they're not my ideal, but they're pretty darn good. But there are a few things that are always just not perfect, and they just sit on my mind all the time, and my mind's just
yeah.
chewing on them all day long. And it's like, your life's messed up because of this, and because of that, and because of this, and because of that. And man,
It's because
that's what
we
I beat
also,
myself up about.
I think we also like to find we make this fallacy that we like to find like we want to find we think there's a simple reason for stuff. Like we think it's one thing, right? So like if I'm out unhappy, I look at my life, I'm like, it's because I haven't gotten that thing yet, or I haven't done X yet, or whatever it is that I'm working on, right? Because it's the lowest hanging fruit. It is the thing that's like, if you're working on something, if you're trying to achieve something, it's on your mind a lot, it's right there. But the
Hmm.
reality is that's probably not it. You're just picking the lowest hanging thing, or you probably feel off today, or whatever it is, right? It's really hard
Hmm.
though to get out of it. Because even
Yeah.
knowing all this, like I still catch myself doing it all the time. And it's the same
Hmm.
thing, right? It's like even though I know like ostensibly most things are going just fine, it's easy to find those things that aren't exactly where you want them to be, or what you want it to happen faster, because that's a lot of my issue too, is that I think things should happen way faster than they will
Dude,
in reality, and like
I know. If I had
not accounting
patience,
for
I mean, that
anything
would get rid of
outside. Yeah.
that would get rid of so many of my problems if I just had patience.
But that's it though. It's hard though, because I think it's also, it's also like, I think we've been told our whole lives, like, and I think this is also, I mean, this is just me speaking, I guess, but looking back at like school and stuff, the way we structured things, I think, is actually kind of detrimental. Because it's like, you do this, you do this. It's a very clear progression from, how to pass and how to do well. Everything's laid out very clearly, but in real life, nothing is. And so I think we also take this misconception of my whole life, if I did these things, I would succeed, right? And we try to apply that forward, but it doesn't apply because real life's different or more complicated, or it's a different scenario where it's not quite the same type thing, And I think that makes it a lot harder too. And then trying to do things yourself. Oh my God, working at home and stuff, like it's so easy because there's no clear, you don't always have clear metric, right? So it's like
Well,
anything could be,
there's no like perfect way to live life. There's no rule book. There's no perfect way to live life.
I know,
There's
what
a
the hell were we
million different
doing
ways to
for
go.
100,000 years or whatever? Jesus.
I know. Just surviving. It's crazy because you just go on, you do this whole thing. Like, for instance, someone was telling me the other day they went to the Taj Mahal and they're like, this is the most incredible structure in the world. And I was like, "W-" and they were saying
Based
it's a
on what?
memorial. They were like, it's a memorial. And I was like, who's it a memorial for? And they're like, I don't know. And I was like, so somebody spent their whole entire life building this immense memorial for themselves or somebody that was important to them and the building's there, but nobody gives a crap about the person who spent
Yeah.
their whole life doing
They
it,
probably know the
which,
architect
yeah,
designed the
right?
thing. But that's
Yeah,
just
but
it.
it's crazy because I look at myself in those situations where like I'm trying to make my life meaningful, but in the end, it's not going to be.
It's only, and I think this is what I liked about the existentials a lot. And I think this is where philosophy can be so helpful because, you know, you look at it and it's all these different people trying to come up with like they are trying to write a handbook for how to live life, but they're all different. And I think that's fascinating to me because it means we haven't figured it out. No one has. There is no there is no right path. There's no correct path for anybody, and that's the problem, right? It's just what we make of it. And I think I always go back to the existentials, and it does help, not always in the moment, but reminding yourself that it's only going to be as meaningful as we make it. The meaning always comes from us. It can't come from outside. Because if it comes from outside, you're going to lose it quickly. So it has to come from us. And that means, it's going to be what we make of it. And part of that means starting to like reflect on our lives more. and do more work about what do we really want? What do we value? And it's hard because it's still,
Mhm.
again, like I still fall in this trap all the time and I try to do this. So it's not like it's an easy solution, but I think it's something we have to work at, right? It's like, what does it really look like to me that I want? What is really good about my life? And do I need these things? Am I trying to, what is a meaningful life? Because like you said that, right? Like you're trying to make your life meaningful, but what does that even mean?
Mhm.
You know? And if you don't
And,
have a clear
and and
answer,
most
it's
of the
like,
time I'm chasing my tail because I don't have an answer for that.
yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
So it's like
it's
you have
it's
this
like a
vague
complete.
idea that you're
Hmm.
trying to like just
It's
blame
a vague
things.
idea that's always more and better than what is right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the problem
Hmm.
too. I think I mean, we've talked about this, but all like, when we're kids, everything's idealized, right? Relationships, happily ever after, all this stuff, and you internalize that. But they're vague ideal concepts. They are not concepts you can easily practically apply. So it's super easy to be like, my life's not perfect. It's like, well, what the hell does that look like, a perfect life, you know? It's,
And dude, I recognize this now as I get older for like relationships because relationships are like idealized in this thing where it's like
oh God,
happily
so
ever after.
bad.
Like
I know.
you just find the right person and
And
then
it's
it's
easy.
happily ever after.
It shouldn't be any
But
work.
like relationships are never that. They're constantly just breaking apart and coming back together and breaking apart and coming back together. And it's like being upset and resolving it. And it's just like this constant thing of doing that over and over again.
Because they're organic, right? They're living. They're evolving with
Yeah.
time. Sometimes, and I think that's funny too. I think that's why people like, why people stay in relationships too long sometimes, right? Because they think or they convince themselves that there's this like perfect thing just because they found this person. When people grow apart, stuff happens, right? I mean, we're always changing. So it does take work. If you really love somebody, it takes work to be with them, right? Because you're both changing simultaneously. So if you want to stay together, you have to change kind of together. And that's
And you
hard.
got to work on communication, which is the hardest
Oh
freaking thing
God, I
ever.
know, right? Talking to people, Jesus.
Why didn't this person read my mind and know
I
exactly what I
know.
wanted without me telling them? What's wrong with them?
I know. It is funny, isn't it? Like
Hmm.
when you think about how messed up like just our ideas of things are, that then makes life so hard. Just because we don't have realistic expectations or realistic ideas or about things or realistic whatever, we make it so hard for ourselves to move forward and to like live our lives.
Hmm. Yeah, so beating yourself up isn't the answer.
No. So what do we do? Because that should be
But what
depressing enough.
is? Yeah, no, right? What is the answer? Well, I think kind of self-acceptance and compassion with yourself is very important. And,
Yeah.
I think this is a skill that is not emphasized enough because everybody will tell you, you need to be compassionate to others. You need to accept everybody. It doesn't matter whether they
But
think
you have
they're
to
a
be perfect and you
dolphin
have to work
or
harder and you have to have more than all of them.
exactly. Exactly. And I think they've got it backwards.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, great, it's okay to accept other people and be compassionate with other people, but yourself, you should come first. Because it's like the same thing on an airline. Like when they tell you if the oxygen is gone, you need to put on your own mask first. If you don't do that, then you're gonna die.
Well, and you
And
can't help other people, right? That's the whole thing.
mhm,
Like if you're
yeah.
in a bad place, you can't help other people.
Hmm.
So you kind of have to help yourself first. I agree with that. I think that's a good point. And like self-acceptance is huge. I think also just reflecting on things, like asking yourself, really, when you get to these questions of like, or when you find yourself beating yourself up, try to identify what the ideal is you're thinking about. Like, is it like the perfect life or the perfect relationship? And then sit down and be like, well, what do I think that actually is? And try to spell it out because we never do this. And I think that has helped me a bit, like the awareness that I'm doing it to myself, that I'm beating myself up, and then asking myself, well, what is this thing that I'm comparing to myself that I'm failing at? What am I actually talking about? Because at the very least, it'll get you closer to what your actual values and ideals are, which is good.
Hmm.
At the other hand, you probably realize that you have no fucking clue what the hell you're writing yourself
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Like,
That is a great point, writing it down, trying to be specific. Like I did that earlier this week where I was not feeling good and I was like, wham, my life is terrible. And I was like, okay, be specific. And it was like three or four things that just aren't what I want them to be.
yeah,
But like that becomes my life is terrible.
I know.
Yeah, so that's helpful.
I feel like I've gotten better at handling these things as I gotten older, but also more of a baby. Like when I'm
Hmm.
not feeling well,
Yeah, absolutely.
God.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
also,
So,
yeah.
mm,
Oh no, I was gonna say that's yeah, that's good. I
I
don't
was
have
just gonna
much.
wrap it up, but you can finish. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Oh, I was gonna just say, I was gonna, yeah, it's just hard. I mean, it is. There's not much else we can do about it. And I think we're beating yourself up isn't totally bad because it means you want better things for yourself and you expect more. So lean into that and ask yourself, what are these things I really expect and want from my life? What is that, and what values does it say about me? I like that one. Yeah.
That's a great point. But because uh, we'll beat ourselves up for beating ourselves up.
Yeah.
Instead of recognizing that beating ourselves up actually tells us that we value our life and value what it means and different things like that. So
And
that's
we
a great
want to
point,
be
Danny.
something more than we have, whatever. So yeah, start
Mhm.
getting clear about that. It'll help. Yeah.
That is a great one. Awesome. So there you have it. Why beating yourself up isn't the answer and what is. This is the Existential Stoic Podcast. If you have episode ideas, let us know. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Until then, I'm Randy. That's Danny. I'll see you later, Danny.
Later, Randy.